Hello, everyone. I'm Naganand, and welcome to the second episode of Parents, the First Role Models. I'm really grateful to all of you for the wonderful response we have got from the first episode. It is really wonderful to see so many good messages and congratulatory messages and so on. Today, we have Dr. Vijayalakshmi Srinivasan, famously known as Dr. Vijay. And for me, it's just Vijay. And Vijay is one of those divine souls I'm fortunate to have come across in my life. And she is actually the reason I am a parent today. Oh, yes, because Vijay is the one who introduced me to my wife, Sarita. So if we are all here today and I'm doing something on parenting, it's all because of Vijay itself.
Thank you.
Vijay is a very talented, multi skilled person. And if I were to give an introduction about her, I would not even know where to begin with. So I would leave Vijay to give a brief introduction about herself. And thank you so much, Vijay, for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Here you go. The stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagaran. That was a wonderful introduction. That's not what I expected. And I'm so glad to be associated with you. Then, thank you for inviting me over for this episode on parenting. Okay, to speak about myself, I'm Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, known as Vijay. So, I'm a practitioner of electrohomeopathy, and I'm also doing alternative medical therapies. I do Reiki healing, I do Akashic record reading, tarot card reading. The other part of my personality is like I've always been very fascinated with counseling. So I went into counseling, then I realized counseling is not enough. So then I went into life skill training, life coaching, things like that. So I also work with children from the underprivileged, from the government schools, and I've been associated with them over the last 8 years. So every year I get about 30 to 50 kids with whom I work with. So I'm so very closely associated with children, their behavior, and what makes them behave the way they behave, or where they come from, what are their challenges. So that's something that I have been literally living with. So not because of what they're living with it, but I think growing up I also had a lot of those similar challenges. So connecting with those children has always made me feel very grounded and very connected to reality. So that is what I have been doing, with almost most of my time with the children. And of course I also use art therapy as a medium to work with the children, so that children really don't know how to express what issues they have, or what complaints they have, or if they really have a trauma inside which they are carrying around, so that they are safe, they're going to be fine, or they can pursue their education and do something with it, instead of stay in trauma or in circumstances which is not working in their benefit, and they would probably end up being do more harm to themselves, or grow up and do more harm to the other people around
Exactly.
them. So sometimes we find it very important to move them. So this is what I have been working with. Of course, COVID has brought a lot of things, to a standstill. So I haven't been able to interact much with children in the last year or so. I'm waiting to get back to them.
That's wonderful. And to our viewers, again, I would also like to add to what Vijay said. She is also an expert in graphology, where she analyzes handwritings. And I have used her expertise in many occasions while working with children, where handwriting being a very subconscious activity, we have had instances where Dr. Vijay has helped me in understanding the mindset of a child by actually analyzing his or her handwriting. Thank you very much, Vijay. So
Thank you.
I would be really glad, for all your expertise, which you can share to all our viewers. And
Yeah.
so let's begin with one of a very interesting question, which I've always been thinking about, and I have had an experience about that as well. So, according to you, how is parenting different in today's world?
Very interesting question. It is very different. Believe me, it's very different from the way we were parented to the way we are parenting. Um, because I think, honestly speaking, the way we grew up was a lot better than the way our children are growing up, because we had the opportunity to be free. We had the opportunity to go out and play and not being monitored 24/7, where you're going, what you're doing, and things like that. We are a lot. And then we didn't have all these gadgets. So our entertainment was only connecting with somebody else. So I think knowingly or unknowingly, our interpersonal skills are so much better. And I feel like the way these days children are so engrossed within their own space. What I like, what I don't like, I have this, don't have this, so I want this. I think a lot of I has come in the children of this generation, whereas we didn't know what I was, isn't it? We were so busy out playing, making the most of it. And we would fall, hurt ourselves, fight, probably hit each other. But we were such good kids, we didn't have to come back home and tell all this stuff, because we were not allowed to go back and play outside, isn't it? So I think, like, our coping mechanism in or taking care of our own self, our mental, physical, emotional health, we somehow equipped ourselves much better, because we didn't want to go home and say that one hit me, because we know the very next day we'll have to go and play with them, and our parents shouldn't be saying no. So we always, I think it also set that attitude of consideration. Let me not expose them. So we always included everything into our space. And we also grew up with so much of love, connection, passion into whatever we were also doing. So we all played the same game, we all did the same thing, and it was very different. But I feel these days that's not so. I think parents have become so overindulgent in the child's life, and the child has become so overindulgent in parents' life.
So, how do we deal with these?
These things are, I think, parents should actually set a clear boundaries with the children. It should not be dominating. It's not, I'm not talking about you dominate your child, but have very clear boundaries. And because I have learned so much about children and all those stuff, whatever discipline you want to teach your children, you have to teach them before the age of 8. You cannot ignore your children's mistake, or just say it's okay, he's a child, he will learn when he's growing up. No, what you can't teach a child before they are 8 years old, you cannot teach them or change after they are 8 years old. So within that space, you have to very clearly teach your child, like, you know how much or how much of space do they have. Because we are parent and children, I mean, doesn't mean that we have complete freedom to encroach every space that we have. No, the children also needs to know in what conversation can you bring them in, and in some conversation where you need to say, you know what, this is not for you. When the time is right, you can be a part of this conversation. Somewhere you need to start becoming very aware of those boundaries that you're setting for your children. Not just that, and again, I feel these days a lot of parents, working parents, they're all so stressed about so many things. They are also not aware of their behavior in front of the children. They just don't realize that what they do is, whatever the children behave is a reflection of what the parents are doing.
Actually, the
And
right where children
yeah,
to model, parent.
yes, Yeah, so this is where I wanted to tell you how parents have become a role model, and they need to understand like the way they are behaving either with their spouse or the parents or their siblings or whoever is at home, the tone and the way in which they speak. Because for a child, what the parents do is right.
Yeah.
I you can bring the child to me, I can counsel saying, and the parent comes to me saying, he has a behavioral issue or he's not listening or he's very disobedient, can you counsel? But they don't, parents don't realize they are a big part of that contribution of what they are today. So the way they interact with people, they just copy it. And no matter how many, even 10 or 100 other people try to tell the child, you know what, this is not right, or this is not the way you should behave, the child knows that person in front of him or her is temporary. He's going to talk to me. They're extremely intelligent. They also know this person is in front of me for the next 10 minutes because they know back home my parents will not say anything. Even if they do, inside the child's head, it's still happening. This is what you do, so it seems right for me, isn't it?
Mm, correct.
They start mirroring the parents' behavior as is because they know if I do what my father does or my mother does, I can't be punished.
Being a parent and
Mhm.
also a psychologist, and also being a counselor and working with government schools and these children. So what are your perspectives of and experiences of parenting, and how could a proper nurturing and caring parenting can actually help the child in many ways?
Yeah, some of the things I've already said anyway. So, continuing, if I have to speak about my experiences of working with children in the government school, when I go there, I think that's one place I feel all children should go, not because of anything else, somewhere to understand the value of what they have. Because today I see a lot of parents, they overindulge their children in everything.
Mm,
You know, they indulge their children in everything, in the sense whether it is something to do with their games or clothes or eating or whatever. They indulge the children so much, they just find it absolutely their right to demand.
mm,
But when you go to a government school where I see children, poor children, I feel very sad. They have torn clothes, not the chappals or shoes are torn. Sometimes they don't even wear it. I'm like asking children, where is your shoe? And they smile and they say, no, auntie, it's just broken. And and you should look at them. They're like bindas. They're, in a way, you should see they're one of the most carefree children. And I see those children clean the corridors, take care of the plants, the kind of work that they do. They can sometimes bring tea and give you. The responsibility that they build in there is like very good. Because these days, when I see a teacher, parents going and bombarding a teacher for punishing their children, I feel like, what are you doing? If you don't give the teacher the liberty to tell your child where they are wrong, when are they going to learn? Because the child is going to feel so protected by parents, so overprotected by parents. I won't say protected, overprotected by parents. They always get into that mode of, I have the right to do whatever I want to do. My parents are there to protect about me. So I think it is more to do with the parents to become very aware, like, where do you need to tell your child, like, this does not work. And the way they say it, if you're going to, like I said, dominate them, then what are they going to do? They are going to do it without your knowledge.
correct.
Yeah, so instead of that, you have to be very clear about whatever you are trying to say. When you say an S, this is not acceptable, stick to that S.
Mm,
When you say no, then it is a no. You should never change it in the next half an hour.
yeah.
The children are so smart that they know in the next half an hour, my dad or mom is going to change this no to yes. They know you better than you know your children. Okay, so you Suppose, don't let them manipulate you. Instead, you become aware, like, very clearly, like I said in the, in the previous thing also, that you become aware of the way you're conducting. And when it is an S for me, it's an S for me. And it's an S for you, it's an S for you. And when it is a no for me, when you don't break it, the child also knows when dad or mom has said no, it's not going to be, anything else. It's going to be a no. The minute they start understanding that, they will learn how to be more, um, what do you say, just not obedient, how to respect, what is right and what is wrong. I'm not saying you should become so strict that you're hurting your child. No, where required, you have to exercise this. And when, if you have said no to something your child does, and you feel like after some time you're feeling that, oh my god, I should have, don't do it. You do it at a time when the child is forgotten, get that thing that he wants or whatever, he is forgotten. And don't remind this to this incident, because he knows, even if you're doing it after 15 days, after 15 days I'm going to get it, so I can manipulate it now.
Hmm.
Okay, so saying their brain is so super intelligent that they say even a 6 months old child, or or 3 month 3 to 6 months old child, understand a mom's mood swings and behaves in a way to gets mom's attention, right? So
Absolutely.
that smaller child knows how to manipulate you. You know your child, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, how much more sharper they are. But whenever you're doing this, don't do it with anger. Don't, spit out whatever comes out of your, mind or your tongue. Don't do it.
Great points there, Vijay. And you mentioned something about where they would, if you are very strict, they would do it behind you, and that leads me to my next question, which I think is a very common aspect of most of the parents' journey about
Yeah.
how can the parents help their child in exercising honesty, and not just with the parent, but
Yeah.
also the same they do with others as well. How can
Yeah.
this be done? What's your
Yeah.
thought?
Yes, very important. Very, very nice question, because that's something is lacking in most relationships itself. I don't know if I should be saying a statement so generic, but I'm just saying, it is not there. I see very less honesty. But um, uh, when it comes to your own children, I think it comes from there, the way you bring them up, or, the kind of value system that you build into them. I'll just recap this experience of mine with my child itself. When my son was about 3 years old, I remember him going to my neighbor's house, and he was small, he was three, and in their house there were no children, there was only a grown-up girl. So he had just climbed up the stairs, gone to their house, and he was playing, and there was some doll which was made of clay. I don't even know whether it was expensive or not expensive, that's not the point. But I think while playing he broke it, and he came down as quickly as he went. Then I called my son, and he came, stood in front of me. I said, "Did you break the doll?" He said, "No." I said, "See, if you broke the doll, it's perfectly fine. But I'm asking you a question. You should never lie to me. But if you lied to me and I then realize that you have done this mistake, then I'm definitely going to punish you. So if you tell me that you did this mistake, then I'm not going to punish you. I'll understand why you did it." Then he said, I said, "You broke it?" He said, "Yes." "What happened?" He said, "It fell." I said, "Okay." I said, "It's okay. From next time onwards, you please don't go and touch anybody's things, because if it breaks, you know what will happen. No? So don't do it." And I gave him a big hug and a kiss. And I said, "It's fine." Now, what most parents do is, like, the minute they hear that there is something wrong, they punish the child, they whack the child, or they're scolding. And when you're scolding, believe me, I hear some of them saying things which are completely absurd. "You're not my child. How can you? I mean, how would you disown your child because he did a mistake. I'm saying, I've heard it. I said, why would you say this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know what? It impacts the child. It really impacts the child when you use some statements which are so very strong. So you should never use things. Don't let your words loose when you want to scold your child. Scold your child to the extent of what the mistake was if you feel like doing it.
Don't get
Just
personal.
yeah, don't get personal. Don't make statements like you are such a liar. And you know, they actually label the child as a liar. If he has done a mistake or lying once, don't label him. I know you lie. You know, the child at some point will think, anyway, my parents think I lie. So what is the mistake in doing? I mean, you know, saying another lie. So you brand your child, and then at some point you are like, you know, complaining about the child. So you should be very mindful about what you're telling your child when you're angry, when you're upset, or the statements or the words are, you know, sometimes I have heard people say some strong things, you know, and I'm like thinking the child won't even understand the intensity of what you're saying right now, because the child is always in a defensive mode, you know, when they've done a mistake. At that time, it might not understand, but believe me, part of their brain is like a sponge. They are taking everything, and they're also creating a movie in their head about what you think about the child. And knowingly or unknowingly, depending on the child, they make that a part of their personality. And they're so fearful of that punishment that they can't exercise emotional honesty with them.
Mm,
Most of the time, a child is dishonest is because of your reaction.
right. They
So
are
if
afraid.
you watch, yeah, they're afraid. They're very scared of getting scoldings or getting beaten up or whatever, you know.
Absolutely. I mean that's very important, isn't it? Uh,
Yes.
to being not being afraid of expressing your emotions and
Yes.
expressing your feelings. Just to summarize to what Vijay was mentioning, it's this episode was all about behavior and children's behavior and how parents can help in having the right behavior to the child. So, the key points which I would take is, you know, don't label your child. Don't label them by saying you're a liar, you're dumb, you're this, you're that. Do not label. And when you start labeling them, they start thinking, oh, this is what I am, or I can do this. So
Absolutely.
that's something which is something to avoid.
Yeah.
And don't punish for the mistakes. And second point, ask more questions. Try to give them information as to how this mistake would affect them and affect their own life in future and so on. And what are the consequences of this, of saying those
True.
or doing those mistakes.
True.
Let the child realize that instead of punishing,
Mhm.
making the child realize is more important. Realize their mistake and understand their mistakes is more important.
Right.
And create an atmosphere, the third point, of the child having a freedom to express their feelings, their emotions, and their disappointments, or whatever it is. And to say that it's okay to be in that way. When the child is not afraid of expressing their emotions, the honesty would naturally come by. It's a byproduct of that.
Absolutely. True. True.
So the freedom of expression is very important there,
Yeah.
and I
And
can't
the
thank you more enough. Yeah,
no, one more last point is like, I would say, you know, watch how you behave, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
child
What is
with
that?
each other at home. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So absolutely, that's itself is the topic of our or the
Discussion.
of the discussion, being the parents being the role model. And yes, if we
Yes.
can't model ourselves, then we are actually showing the same
Yeah.
behaviors to our children as well. And that's absolutely right. And thank you so much, Vijay, for sharing your valuable thoughts about behaviors, parenting, and all these vital information which would help a lot of our viewers. And
Thank you.
a very big thank you to all our viewers. Please,
Thank you.
please, please like and share our videos. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel, as I would be posting a conversation with a new guest on every weekend. And do provide your feedbacks and suggestions in the comment section below. And if you have any queries or parenting related challenges, kindly drop in an email to parenting@unique.com. That is parenting at unique, spelled as YOUNNIQUE. Anyway, the email address is there in the description also below. So do like. Happy day again. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.